continuing our coverage of the Parkland school shooter trial. Remember, the 23-year-old defendant faces life in prison or death row for committing the 2018 mass shooting at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School. Earlier this week, the defense called one of the defendant's school counselors to the stand. I want to show you a snippet of her testimony where she recalls the defendant's behavior. I want you to specifically pay close attention to what she said to the defendant wanting to kill animals.
I asked him to stop cursing and interrupting other students while they work. He told me, "You are creepy, just looking at me is creepy." I then asked him, "What would you rather be doing?" His response was, "I would rather be on the street killing animals and setting fires." He then ran out, and Mr. Austin was in pursuit to make sure he did not head out to Miss Watkins' portable.
I'm sorry. Thank you. Mr. Austin was a security officer at the school, wasn't he, or did you know who he was?
I don't remember.
I showed you this clip because a Broward County man was recently arrested for placing dead animals on a memorial for those who were killed during the shooting. 29-year-old Robert Mondragon is now being held without bond for disfiguring a monument and violating his probation, which was for battery and indecent exposure. I want to bring in my legal panel now to discuss this. I'll start with you, Kurt. So this is very strange. We heard the witness there reading what Nikolas Cruz was saying, basically that he wanted to be out killing animals. And then there's a man who said and did actually place dead animals on this monument. What do you make of this?
Well, again, very bizarre, and I can't help but think about how unfortunate it is that when Nikolas Cruz was saying something like what he wanted to do, there couldn't be law enforcement intervention. He hadn't done anything. At least they didn't have any knowledge that he had done anything. I guess, fortunately, in this case of Mr. Mondragon, he has done something, and he committed a crime, and he's able to be picked up by law enforcement and held, before it escalates, before he does something worse. Again, the story just keeps getting crazier, but at least he's now in custody. Police are involved, and hopefully we've prevented something of a greater tragedy.
Oh, you make such a good point there, and hopefully we have prevented something. Hopefully he will get the help that he needs, or he'll be in jail behind bars and not able to hurt anyone. What do you think about this, Catherine, these dead animals that this individual placed on the monument for those who were killed? I mean, clearly he must have known, or we're assuming that he knew about what Nikolas Cruz said. What do you think?
I agree with you. I believe that he absolutely knew what Nikolas has been testifying. And that's one of the issues and concerns that legal analysts such as myself and other legal analysts have mentioned as well, where when covering a crime such as so horrific like this, it becomes an issue as to whether or not the defendant is being sensationalized. But we are covering it because it's very important for the families and for the public to know. And that's where the line is, very difficult to determine. And we see now that people who are obsessed with these kinds of horrific incident might be following it too closely and trying to perpetrate it. But as what Kurt said, luckily he did do something, and that the authorities have him now to prevent any future crimes, hopefully.
Yeah, that's a good point too. And Kurt, I'm thinking back on the Nikolas Cruz experience, what he did, what he wrote, the drawings, how violent he was, how he cursed all the time. I am thinking that even though the authorities can't come in and technically arrest him, there were some crimes that he committed there, weren't there? I mean, he apparently stole things and he broke things. Couldn't we have done something about that?
Yeah, I think you're right. I guess, again, unfortunately, those crimes are relatively minor. Those crimes probably wouldn't have held him for very long, but maybe they would have got him into the system and helped, accelerate some intervention to help him. I don't know what Florida's laws as far as civil commitment go, but geez, from what I'm seeing in this trial over and over again, it certainly looks like there could have been an involuntary sort of psychological or psychiatric commitment to evaluate him at some time. It's just really, really sad the more you hear that there wasn't some kind of intervention that took place to prevent this tragedy.
One of the other things I'm thinking about, Kurt, with a quick follow-up with you is he had access to a gun. And, even if he didn't get the mental health, maybe keeping access from these guns is one of the other answers. What's your thought?
Oh, absolutely. That's what all these background checks, all these laws, these red flag laws that legislatures are trying to pass, I think that's what they're intended for. Some people think they go too far, and maybe they do, but maybe they don't. If we could have kept a gun out of Mr. Cruz's hand when he went to purchase it, this doesn't happen. So
Right.
it's a very, very tough call in a
I
free
agree.
nation.